Speaking of college football, Colorado announced its schedule. If you don't know, college football teams announce their schedules 10 years out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why wouldn't they?
Colorado State is not going to be on the schedule following the 2020 season. We all kind of knew that this was coming.
Okay.
Rick George made it pretty clear, and now he has essentially dropped the hammer.
Yeah.
This is going to happen for at least one season, but after that, 22, 23, 24, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive. I was driving to work today thinking to myself, where am I going to be at that time?
Right.
Okay? You know, they're going to be playing Nebraska and Lincoln in like 2023,
Right.
and I'm hoping that I'm not in a hospital bed somewhere.
I'm hoping you're not in a hospital.
I'm hoping I'm not in one either. Is it a big deal to you that at least for 1 year and potentially further on that this Rocky Mountain Showdown may not exist?
It is for me because when I was in school, it wasn't a rivalry. I went to school from 89 to 93 at CU, and CSU was clearly the little brother, and CU was winning national championships. They were top 10 team in the nation. I mean, it wasn't. So if you had told me then that game was going to go away, it was like, whatever. The CU was going to schedule Tennessee or something to go play at Illinois. I mean, they played
And they did.
And they
scheduled, ironically, both of those teams.
They played these great scheduled games. Jeff George they played against, and they played these amazing games. But now these teams need each other. That game for CU, just being completely transparent, that's one of the few games on CU's schedule that's winnable the last few years. I tell my sons when they would lose to CSU, I'm like, well, there's a couple more winnable games here at home. Because at that point they've won like how many road games in the last 5 years? 2. Whew. Their road record is ridiculous. It's just they make the Rockies look functional on the road. So for me, to this game to go away, I thought it's helping the state, is trying to grow the sport in the state, and for it to go away would have made a lot more sense 20 years ago. I don't like the idea that it goes away. I think it is good for Colorado football, and I know they're thinking bigger, but the short-term me, Benjamin, doesn't see the advantage of losing this game.
Yeah, the thing that stinks is the idea of playing the game in Denver was so much fun for so many alumni. You know what I mean? They all live here and they can come to the game. But I remember I went to some of those games in the late aughts. Do people say aughts? In the late aughts. And
well, you did.
I did, yeah. In the late aughts and at the stadiums in Fort Collins, in Boulder.
Right.
And it was a really neat experience. And I'll never forget when CSU won at CU.
Right. And
those guys and girls stormed the field. Can you imagine if you're a CU fan and CSU people are storming your field?
I from a Rick George perspective here, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm a CU supporter over CSU, but really, what is the benefit for CU to schedule this game at Mile High? Let's think of a couple of things.
Right.
First of all, you're in the Pac-12. If you wind up losing the game, it looks bad. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, you're the one who's carrying the freight when it comes to ticket sales.
Right.
CSU fans don't even show up for these games. I can see Rick George saying, "Hey, we'll play, but you got to come up to Boulder every year."
And that's what he said.
That's kind of what he did, isn't it? He's trying to force their hand. That why do we have to basically attract it, bill it, sell it, and then we go get beat?
Right.
We do all the legwork, and then we still get our ears boxed.
Yeah, and I talk about my buddies in their 20s and 30s that live here and want to see their team and not drive to Boulder or Fort Collins. But Rick George will say, financially, we want our fans in Boulder to come pay money, see their team, and financially we get the money.
All right, that segment was brought to you by Grand Prix Motorsports. If you're looking for the original motorcycle, talking about the Indian motorcycle,
Terry!
There's my man Terry on his 2015 Indian Chieftain, and he got it at Grand Prix Motorsports located off of County Line Road and
Santa Fe.
Wow. Crescendo, decrescendo. You're like the maestro from Seinfeld.